In 1950s Indianapolis, a young Jim Jones, a former Pentecostal minister with a booming voice and undeniable charisma, founded the People's Temple. It wasn't your typical church. Interracial from the start, the People's Temple stood in stark contrast to the segregated America of the era. Jones, a gifted speaker with a knack for connecting with diverse audiences, preached a message of racial equality, social justice, and even a socialist utopia. These progressive ideals resonated deeply. African Americans seeking racial equality saw a beacon of hope. White liberals yearned for social change, and even entire families were attracted to the temple's strong sense of community and shared values. Newspapers praised their work in racial integration, showcasing photos of black and white families living and working together. The People's Temple seemed like a haven, a testament to the ideals of the burgeoning civil rights era. By the 1960s, the People's Temple had grown considerably, attracting hundreds of followers. Seeking a refuge to practice their beliefs freely and establish their utopian vision, they relocated to Redwood Valley, California. There they established the People's Temple Agricultural Project, a self-sufficient commune based on communal living and socialist ideals. News outlets flocked to Redwood Valley, fascinated by this experiment in social justice. Articles and documentaries showcased their harmonious existence, members working the fields together, children playing in a safe environment, and families enjoying meals prepared communally. The People's Temple became a national sensation, a symbol of hope and progress in a tumultuous time. The idyllic facade of the People's Temple began to crumble in the 1970s. Facing financial strain and negative press about their increasingly authoritarian practices, Jones decided to relocate the People's Temple once again. This time, their destination was Jonestown, a remote settlement in Guyana, South America. Jones's paranoia grew with isolation. He restricted communication with the outside world, limiting phone calls and letters, making it difficult for members to leave. Disturbing reports emerged from defectors, stories of forced labor, physical abuse of dissenters, and even threats towards those who questioned Jones's leadership. Jones increasingly portrayed himself as a messianic figure, demanding absolute obedience and loyalty. He held mandatory nighttime meetings filled with harangues against the outside world, further isolating his followers and solidifying his control. Experts point to a concept called coercive persuasion to explain how Jones controlled his followers. This technique involves isolation, sleep deprivation, manipulation, and fear tactics to break down a person's individuality and critical thinking, making them susceptible to the leader's will. This may explain why some members appeared content during Congressman Ryan's visit, despite the desperation of those who wanted to escape. They were sleep-deprived, bombarded with propaganda, and potentially fearful of the consequences of dissent. Leo Ryan, the congressman from California, became increasingly concerned about the People's Temple after hearing reports of abuse from defectors. These reports detailed forced labor, restricted communication, and even physical violence. In November 1978, Congressman Ryan decided to lead a delegation to Jonestown to investigate the situation firsthand. His goal was to assess the living conditions and offer an escape route to any members who wished to leave. The visit was a tense affair. Jones carefully orchestrated what the delegation saw. Interviews with some members, prepped beforehand, painted a picture of a happy community. However, others confided in the delegation members, revealing the desperation lurking beneath the surface. They spoke of a longing for freedom, a fear of leaving their families behind, and a sense of powerlessness within the commune. The delegation also witnessed armed guards patrolling the perimeter, a stark contrast to the peaceful utopia Jones tried to portray. This complexity may have contributed to misinterpretations of the situation, leaving some to believe Jonestown was a paradise, while others feared the worst. The 18th of November proved to be a turning point. During their visit, a former temple member, Patricia Parks, decided to defect with her infant child. This sparked chaos. Jones's security guards, known as the Red Brigade, opened fire, killing Parks and a photographer from the delegation's news crew in a horrific escalation of violence. In the ensuing gunfire, Congressman Ryan and others were also tragically killed. The murders marked a horrifying turning point, and raised grave fears for the safety of the remaining members in Jonestown. The night of November 18th remains shrouded in chilling uncertainty. According to some reports, Jones called a mass meeting after the violence. He is said to have fabricated a story about an imminent attack by the US government, using it to justify a mass exodus from this world. Members were then coerced into drinking Kool-Aid laced with cyanide, with adults forced to comply and even administer the poison to their own children. The debate about what exactly happened that night continues. Some argue it was mass hysteria fueled by fear, manipulation, and years of isolation that led to the deaths. Others believe it was a planned act of murder-suicide orchestrated by a megalomaniacal Jones who, facing potential exposure and loss of control, decided to take his followers with him. Haunting audio recordings allegedly captured Jones' manipulative rhetoric and the desperation of some members, offering a chilling glimpse into the atmosphere of despair and control that may have gripped Jonestown that night. The discovery of the mass deaths at Jonestown was devastating. Over 900 people, including hundreds of children, perished. The world watched in shock as the true scope of the tragedy unfolded. Official investigations focused on the deaths of Congressman Ryan and his delegation, ultimately ruling it a mass suicide and concluding that the deaths of the People's Temple members were also self-inflicted. Families were left grappling with unimaginable loss, and a nation grappled with the chilling realization of how a charismatic leader could manipulate and control his followers to such a horrific degree. In the aftermath of tragedy, conspiracy theories often emerge. Jonestown is no exception. Some theories allege Jonestown was a government-led experiment gone wrong. These theories often cite a hidden Soviet base in Guyana or mind-controlled drug testing as part of the CIA's MKUltra program. However, credible evidence to support these claims is lacking. Independent investigations found no Soviet base in Guyana, and the MKUltra program was demonstrably terminated before the events in Jonestown. Historical events, especially those shrouded in tragedy, can be breeding grounds for conspiracy theories. Critical thinking is essential. Documented evidence points not to government involvement, but to Jim Jones' well-documented mental health issues, including megalomania and delusions of grandeur. Cult leaders often employ manipulative tactics like isolation, sleep deprivation, and fear to control followers. This coercive persuasion, not a government plot, is the far more likely explanation for the events in Jonestown. The tragedy of Jonestown raises lingering questions. Could the government have intervened considering the reports of abuse? While the full picture may never be known, Jonestown serves as a stark reminder of the dangers of cults and manipulative leadership. We must remember the victims, their families, and the importance of protecting vulnerable communities. Efforts continue to understand the psychology of cults and cult leaders to prevent similar tragedies. The Jonestown Massacre left a long shadow. It is a chilling chapter in American history, forever etched in the national memory. Its influence extends to popular culture, referenced in everything from music to movies, serving as a cautionary tale about the dangers of blind faith and charismatic leadership. Efforts to memorialize the victims and their families continue, with a monument established in Oakland, California, to honor those who perished. The Jonestown Institute also works to educate the public about cults and the power of coercive persuasion. All in all, the overwhelming evidence points to Jonestown as a tragic mass murder-suicide orchestrated by a manipulative cult leader with a documented history of mental illness. Analytical reasoning is vital when evaluating historical events and conspiracy theories. We remember the victims of Jonestown, learn from this tragedy, and remain vigilant against the dangers of cults and manipulative leadership. May this dark chapter serve as a reminder of the importance, the power of manipulation, and the enduring strength of the human spirit in the face of unimaginable horror. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more content like this.
It's London Lee.